rights amendment for women, because that's really all it was.
The companies are being ordered today to hire the woman who isn't as well qualified, who doesn't have as much seniority, who doesn't have any dependents to support.
Phyllis Schlafly is a leader of those women organized to oppose it. The controversy over the Equal Rights Amendment has spread from the kitchens and bedrooms of America to the public forums and working places.
Most women saw the Equal Rights Amendment as a threat to their status as homemaker and mother, and as a threat to the American family. They saw making the financial support laws equal as a threat to the right of a woman to be at home with her baby.
We were not able to get out to them that the Equal Rights Amendment really helped all women. Women, even then, were 5 times more likely to end up being the sole support of their children than men. That's a pretty astounding statistic that goes right at the Phyllis Schlaflys who think that everybody's being taken care of. You know, the 70s people still believed their MRS degree took care of them forever. And your MRS degree didn't take care of very many women.
The ERA was defeated, 3 states short of ratification. Today, the fight over the ERA may seem almost irrelevant, as women are working in record numbers and in nearly every kind of job. By the year 2000, 80% of American women will be working full or part-time. The question now isn't who will work, but who will do the dishes and change the diapers. Women with men are trying to find the right balance between work and family.
What needs to change, men need to change. Men need to begin to understand that work and family are responsibilities of both sexes. Men need to value parenthood as much as they say they value motherhood. Men will come to appreciate women's work if they share in it. And I'm beginning to see that change. It's not as rapid as some young people would like, but it's certainly better in this generation than it was in the one before.
The thing that I'll remember most about that flight is that it was fun, and in fact, I'm sure it's the most fun I'll ever have in my life.
Women are pulled in many directions at once, and the roads traveled by our mothers may not always be the best indication of how to get to the future. What to keep and what to discard is an honest debate.
I think my generation kind of stumbled into a lot of this, in part fueled by the aspirations of our mothers who came out of the Depression and the Second World War and went into the homes in suburbia America and devoted themselves to their children, but always with the view that they were doing it so their children could have more than they had. My mother was the best mother that anybody could ever have, and I want to be as good a mother to my daughter as she was to me. But she did it differently than I'm doing it. So trying to learn from what she did and take those basic values, but transplant them into my life experience, which is different, I then see how my daughter will move even beyond that.
Chelsea Clinton moved into the White House with her parents at age 13.
I don't think there's any doubt that for me, motherhood, and particularly my relationship with my daughter, has been one of the best experiences of my life. Watching someone grow and develop who shares some of your views, but not all of them, who struggles to find her own independent voice and her own identity, brings up a lot of the same issues that I face. And I find myself watching and nurturing that process, but like mothers going back thousands of years, wanting to be protective, wanting to say, look, life is not always easy. There are a lot of tough spots in the road ahead. And knowing that in today's world, she's not going to leave her father's home and go immediately at the age of 15 or 16 or 17 into the home of her husband, where she will begin to produce children, and then, that is not going to be her life pattern. And so she has to be better prepared to deal with issues, even more so than I was. But you know, my view of how you live a life is that you try to integrate all of the parts of your life. And I think in many ways, women have always understood that. Even when women mostly worked inside the home, they had to balance a lot of demands, even in those days. And I think now it's a more obvious set of juggling demands that you face. But women have always had to really choose between, you know, their duties and responsibilities to themselves, to their husbands, to their children, to their fathers, to their mothers, to everybody around them. We are charting new ground, and what we want is a history that takes account of what our lives were like and which really recognizes the contributions on the day-to-day level of both women and men. Then there are going to be a lot of little boys and girls who are going to see role models and are going to understand that women have always made their contributions both at home and in the world outside the home, and that those choices that girls today face, every one of them is legitimate. That they should be able to choose what is right for them and their lives, and then watch how their lives unfold. Earhart turned her fame into fortune.
One of the things that was interesting about Amelia Earhart is that she actually had her own clothing line, which she developed in 1933 and 34, and it came out of her desire that herself and that women in general should have comfortable clothes that they could be active women in.
How I've suffered with sleeves that were too short or shoulders too tight. My clothes will be cut for comfort.
So was her hair. When women like Amelia Earhart cut off their long locks, the new bobbed style inspired a nationwide trend that caused more than one altercation.
Chicago's Marshall Field fires salesgirl Helen Armstrong for wearing bobbed hair. Not dignified.
Amelia Earhart really was a celebrity. Her accomplishments in the air were widely reported. She turned up on newsreels. She wrote magazine articles. She was widely photographed. And her image really conveyed both the excitement of aviation, but also the excitement of new possibilities for women.
The Department of Commerce makes no difference in granting licenses to men or women, a pilot's a pilot. I hope that such equality could be carried out in other fields.
Amelia Earhart carried her sense of personal freedom to the altar. In 1931, she married publisher George Palmer Putnam. Following the ceremony, Earhart kept both her name and her independence.
So how about taking me along?
Well, of course, I think a great deal of you, but 180 pounds of gasoline on a flight perhaps might be a little more valuable.
You mean you prefer 180 pounds of gasoline to 180 pounds of husband?
I think you've guessed right.
Goodbye.
One of the most unusual things about the way that Amelia Earhart approached marriage was that right before the ceremony, she handed her husband-to-be a one-page statement that asked if she were not happy in a year, that he would let her go. And to his credit, he gulped, I think, and signed it.
Dear George, please let us not interfere with each other's work or play, for I cannot guarantee to endure the confinements of even an attractive cage.
On what was to be Amelia Earhart's last long-distance flight, she and a navigator set out to fly around the world at the equator. Her plane was believed to have crashed somewhere in the Pacific. The debate continues as to both the meaning of her life and the circumstances of her death.
For the women who had a chance to fly in the 1920s and 30s, women like Amelia Earhart, it must have been such a sense of liberation, of freedom. She was any man's equal. She was on her own, and she must have been in heaven. It really was the closest that I can imagine to what liberation and true equality must have felt like.
There really is not anything amazing in liking to fly. The amazing thing is that so few women, seeing what sport men are having in the air, are having themselves.
Of course, most women did not follow her into the skies, but they did follow her style. When America went to war in 1941, it meant wartime budgets, import restrictions, and shortages. American designer Claire McCardle capitalized on the need for moderately priced practical clothes.
I believe that clothes are for real women, not pedestals. They are made to be worn, to be lived in, not to walk around on showroom models who are blessed with perfect figures.
For me, the 40s was about, you know, structure and military and very hard-edged kind of suiting. And there comes Claire and, you know, wonderful soft jersey dresses, which freed the woman, liberated what the American woman's lifestyle was all about.
Drop everything. There's a girl up the street making a dress with no back, no front, no waistline, and my God, no bust darts.
McCardle's first real commercial success came in the form of a controversial new design, the tent dress. Publicity releases called it the monastic. The dress's stunning simplicity touched a fashion nerve, and soon half of 7th Avenue was copying the McCardle design.
Fashion should be fun, and whenever I am tempted to take it too seriously, I am tumbled to earth by the blunt question of a buyer: where would you wear it?
Many of the designs we take for granted were popularized by McCardle. One of her innovations was the bodysuit. The bodysuit was originally designed in wool to provide an extra layer of warmth for girls living in college dormitories, left unheated because of wartime fuel shortages.
You know, people say to me, you invented the bodysuit. Absolutely not. All I did was take a leotard that was so common in dress and utilize it as a foundation. And that's, I think, what people want, you know, the base of a foundation, and she understood that. You know, she did that in her dressing as well.
Claire McCardle died of cancer at the age of 52, 2 years after she published her book entitled, What Shall I Wear?
For me, she is a place in history, you know, a moment in time, but so modern. I think people think about Claire McCardle, they think that she would be designing today.
I've always designed things that I needed myself. It just turns out that other people need them too.
The beauty business has been big business throughout the 20th century. Makeup and hair care industries have made billions off of women's desire to look and feel good.
You can be beautiful for less than $50. Go to bed and wake up surprised. It's real magic.
For a few enterprising women, selling beauty has also meant financial independence.
Madam Walker's legacy is that she helped women change their attitudes about themselves, about their abilities. That no longer would a woman have to believe that she couldn't be financially independent.
My hair is kind, you don't you? You can't comb it, don't you try.
At the turn of the 20th century, Madam C.J. Walker believed that for black women to succeed, they needed the confidence of looking good.
Now,